Hi everyone, and welcome to this short time-lapsed version of my French Bulldog in soft pastel. Hope you enjoy this, and if you do, please do hit the subscribe button to get all my future content here on YouTube, and also consider checking me out over on Patreon. I'll be making longer tutorials from this piece also, and I've got a full catalogue over there already with lots of my pastel techniques. But enjoy this short time-lapse. As always, I start with the background. I like to get backgrounds blocked in before working the main subject, and in this case I went for a very plain background with a subtle gradient. At this stage, normally I finish the background, but once I work a little bit of the dog, I actually do come back in and darken the background a little bit more, just to enhance that lighting effect. I like having more contrast on one side of the dog to really show up all the highlights. I've got a full video about how I create these soft gradient backgrounds to really set off the main subject. There are some tricks to doing that using your light and your contrast. I'll add a link to that video in my description below if you'd like to see more. But the first thing that I get working on with Alfie is those lovely big pink ears. Also just making sure to pick out those really bright highlights around the left side of each ear. We can see that the light source is coming from the left of Alfie, and that's what's constantly directing my colour choices. But the first layers, these early layers, getting in some of the darker colours that I can see through Alfie's coat. Always working from dark to light. And with a coat like this, it's a really gradual process building up the layers. The more I can layer it up, the more deep and 3D that fur is going to look. But this type of French Bulldog also has an unusual colouring, so you've got lovely oatmeal sort of colours running through the coat, but then there's lovely cool grey areas around his eyes. It's a really lovely pattern. I don't think I've actually painted a dog quite this colour before, and it was really tricky trying to choose colours to represent the sunlit side of the dog, and then trying to find the equivalent for that but in a shadow tone for the other side of his face. And that's one of my tips if you're trying to choose good photo reference to paint from. Good directional light makes a painting so much more interesting when you get light and shade within a painting. So I always love working the details in eyes, and especially when the subject has got such big expressive eyes, lots of reflection on the eyeball. I do love a French Bulldog's face. They're one of the squishy-nosed variety of dogs, and I love them. I know quite a few French Bulldogs, and each one is quite a big character for a small dog. So I do come in with pastel pencil on top of my soft pastel. You can see that I make most of my marks with the bigger soft sticks. But when it comes to the final little tweaks and just moving everything into place, really refining my marks, that's where the pastel pencil comes in really useful. So soft pastel can be used in such a variety of different ways, from its hardest form in pencil right through to the harder sticks, and then the bigger softer sticks, and even the pan pastels in the tray form. So it's a really versatile medium, and you can mix and combine all of those different sorts of pastel. You can see here I make use of a slightly harder Faber Castell stick, sometimes just filling in the darkest blacks. The harder your pastel, the less it will fill the tooth of the paper. Once you get into the softer pastels, then you need to be aware that you're filling the tooth of the paper, and if it becomes oversaturated, it makes it very difficult to add any more layers, especially those final highlights. And I'm working on velour paper, my old favourite. I've spent quite a lot of time working on pastel mat recently, especially for the very detailed up-close portraits like this. But I really just fancied velour this time, and I find I can get almost as much detail on there, but it gives it a slightly softer effect than the pastel mat, and it's just my preference, but I tend to prefer the appearance of the finished piece when it's on velour. So working on down his body, again, the tricky thing about this was choosing the right colours to describe the part of his chest to the right of the picture where he's in shadow, and how to make it seem like the light is hitting his left shoulder as we look at the painting. And also that lovely chunky leather collar. I really love painting collars. This month on my Patreon, I'm adding an instructional video all about painting collars. I get to paint so many in different colours, different buckles, different stitching. It's one of those things that when you become especially a pet portrait artist, you realise that you get to paint a lot of other textures in your portraits as well. Even if you don't include backgrounds, you'll find it very hard to avoid painting collars. But I really love creating the small detail on the shiny parts of the collar, on the buckle and the metal parts. And of course the all-important dog tag as well, with the dog's name on there. So each month on my Patreon, I tackle different subject matters, trying to show a range of different techniques. And as I said at the beginning, there will be long tutorials from this particular piece, and I'm always interested to hear what you guys would like to see from this in a longer tutorial format. So do let me know in the comments below. And I really hope that you've enjoyed seeing this piece build up from beginning to end, with some final whiskers to finish. So thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you next time.